Hey, and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be taking a look at setting up the Donner NHL 500. To be honest, if you want to set this guitar up, um, the steps are the same as pretty much any S-type Strat hardtail bridge. So it shouldn't be that hard to figure out. And we'll go ahead and just go in depth in how to take care of that. So I'm going to go ahead and switch the overhead here and explain what we're going to be using. So I'm going to be using Music Nomad's Equipment Care Kit. I just prefer this kit because it's nice and simple. Comes with some rulers, feeler gauges, and radius gauges, which we will need for the setup process. If you don't have one of these, I'll leave a link in the description below. And then again, you don't need this specific set, but I use the Music Nomad screwdriver. I actually don't care for the screwdriver itself, but the bit loadout is really nice. And I have a neck cradle. And that's pretty much all we're going to need. So first thing we want to do is adjust the truss rod. We want the neck where it should be, and then we take care of everything else. Okay, so in order to adjust the truss rod, I'm just going to use a 3mm hex head, and I'm going to put it into the holes here at the spoke wheel truss rod adjustment. And I'm going to use the screwdriver adjustment there so I can turn it back and forth. Okay. When you're doing a truss rod adjustment, you can damage the guitar by overdoing it. So never force the truss rod. If you feel like you're pushing really hard and it feels like something's going to break, something might break. So you typically want to do only maybe a quarter turn at a time. Let it sit for about a day or at least a couple hours, and then see how it goes. I'm pretty confident in the fact that I've done this so many times on other guitars that I'll be able to adjust it where I need it to be. Now, before we adjust anything, we want to know where should the truss rod be. If you're using the equipment care kit, it'll come with instructions on how to set up, as well as video instructions linked through QR codes. I recommend just following that. It's going to be way more in depth. I'm just going to show you what's worked for me. This isn't necessarily what you should do, but it's how I like to set up my guitars. So the first thing I want to do is I want to see where the action is. So I come over to the guitar and I hold it in a playing position. This is how I would hold this guitar playing. I'm going to fret the first fret, not the 0 fret, the first fret. I'm going to fret the 12th fret with my thumb on my right hand. I'm going to push around fret 6 or 7 on that same string. And I'm trying to see how much play there is on the string itself. If there's a little bit of space, meaning the string can move up and down to touch the fret, that means that the neck has a little bit of a curve like this. And that's fine. We want either a little bit of a curve, perfectly straight. Okay? If it's perfectly straight and the frets are perfect, that should be no problem. If it's perfectly straight and the frets have high spots or low spots, it'll buzz like crazy. So that's why we typically go for a little bit of a slope. So looking at this one, it looks like there is a little bit of relief. It's going down a little bit. There could probably be a bit more, to be honest. So I'm just going to go ahead and take this a quarter turn away. Typically, I want my necks to be straight, but I know the frets on this are not perfect, so I'm going to go ahead and do a quarter turn. So all I'm doing is lining up the spoke wheel so that one dot was facing straight up. The next dot is facing straight up. That's a very minimal adjustment. I'm going to come over to the neck again. I'm going to fret the first fret and the 12th fret on the low E string, and then tap around fret 6 or 7. Now, before I could see the string moving, but I couldn't actually see the gap. And at fret 6, I can very clearly see the gap. Fret 7 is still a little bit hard to see, but that's fine. We don't want a huge gap. You shouldn't be able to fit your pick through this gap. We're looking for something maybe a piece of paper or two thick in space. And in this case, if I wanted to grab a piece of paper and test it, I'm pretty confident that would be about where it should be. The neck will move a little bit overnight, so it'll probably loosen just a little bit more, and that's fine. So now that I have the truss rod adjusted, typically on a guitar, the next thing you would do is the nut, which requires nut files, or you can do sandpaper in the string. There are tons of tricks and specific guides on this as well, but I'm not going to show you that because with a 0 fret, we don't need to do anything to the nut unless there's buzzing at the 0 fret, which on my first Donner NHL over here, there was actually buzzing and I did have to file the nut slots. On this one, there is no problems with the open strings, so I'm not going to worry about filing any nut slots. The 0 fret is a little high, but again, that will require another specialty tool, which most people don't have easy access to. The whole idea of a 0 fret is it's supposed to be the same height as all the other frets. When you do the fretwork, everything gets leveled together. In this case, Donner has left the 0 fret a little high, which is fine. It just means that the guitar action at the first fret will be a little bit higher than you probably want it to be if you typically buy a 0 fret guitar. You can check this by fretting fret 3 and pushing at the first fret. When I fret the 3rd fret on low E and push at the 3rd fret, I want no movement between the bottom of the string till it touches the top of the fret. In this case, I'm seeing probably about double the amount of space I saw at fret 6 when checking the neck relief. That's not what I want, but again, for this video, I'm just going to leave that alone. It's not unplayable. It's not awful. To put this in perspective, the Ibanez Quest that I had that did not have a 0 fret, the nut was cut worse than this 0 fret and nut is, so I am going to just leave it alone because it's fine for now. So now I have the neck set up. The nut is taken care of, hopefully out of the box. If it's not, you'll need to figure out a way to file that down. Another trick, by the way, with the nut is you can always remove it on a flat surface, sand the bottom of the nut if it's flat, and then put it back in if you need to lower the nut a little bit. And that way you don't need nut files. Okay, so the nut is good, the neck is good. Next up, we check the action. So this is where I like to go for my Music Nomad rulers. So they tell us very clearly, like, this is how tall a medium action is or a low action is, and etc. I am always going to use the millimeters section. I do not use the, so imperial. I don't use the, I always use metric. I don't like to use the imperial. I just find the numbers a little bit easier to deal with for metric, and most guitars coming from overseas especially are going to be measured metric. So with that information, I'm going to bring the guitar back over into playing position, okay? And I'm going to take this without doing anything on the neck. I'm just going to hold the guitar in playing position. I'm going to put this right under the low E string, and I'm going to slide it to the 12th fret. And right at the 12th fret, right now I see that the low E's action height is 2.25 millimeters. See if I can get that on screen here. Okay, that's 2.25. The A is about a 2, D is 2, G is 2, B is 1.75, high E is 1.75. So this would be considered a high action. It's not unplayably high, just feeling it, it's fine, it's not awful, but definitely not where most people would want it, or probably anybody would really want it. So what we're going to do is we're going to lower the action. What we need for this is a 1.5 millimeter Allen key, or if you have a screwdriver set like I do, you can use that. Okay. And what I like to do for this is you have 2 screws here and here on each saddle. I like to make sure that the saddles are level. Okay, that's not necessary. Sometimes people will have the right side a little bit higher on low E, A, and D, so it creates a curve, and then on the higher strings they'll have the opposite side, so it kind of creates a nice curve. We'll talk about that in a second. I want to find a good action height. I want my low E, I'm going to set it to a medium action. Medium action, according to this, is going to be a 1.65. There's no 1.65 on here, so I'm going to actually shoot for 1.5, which is more of a low medium. It's quite a bit high, so I'm going to find the Allen key slot. And what I like to do here, and I'll show you, is now you can see, there we go, that the numbering on the screwdriver's bit is facing outwards. I like to use each face as just a way to count the turns. So it's 1 turn, next face is 2 turns, next face is 3, 4. Okay, then I go to the other side, and if it's already level, I just match that amount of turns. So I'm on the face, 1, 2, 3, 4. And if I look at it, it looks a little bit low on this side, so I probably actually only need to do 3 on the bottom one. So I'm going to raise that one up twice, actually, until it's level. Let's see. Okay, now it's level. So I just adjusted the low E saddle. I come over with my feeler gauge. No, sorry, not my feeler gauge, my ruler. And I'm looking again for a 1.5. Now, for Music Nomad, they say you have to fret the first fret in order to get an accurate measurement on this. So right now I'm fretting the first fret, and I'm sitting at about 1.75. So it's still a little high. We're going to take it down one more notch on each. So in this case, to lower it, I'm just loosening the screw. One notch each. Let's take that from a 1.75, and that takes us to about a 1.5. Okay, so that was 5 turns in total. I probably don't need to do that much. I just want to try and get every other string. So unfretted, it's about a 2. I want to try and get every other string to a 2, which A is already a 2, D is already a 2, G is already a 2, B is a 1.75, and high E is a 1.75. So I'm going to actually fret B, or sorry, high E, and I want to see where it's at. And on here it says it's a 1.5. So when I'm fretting the first fret, it says 1.5. That's a little high for a low medium action, but about right for a medium action. So I'm going to leave it alone. We're going to try and play that low E string and see if it buzzes at all. Let me go ahead and just grab the cable here so you guys can hear it too. And let's throw on some headphones. Okay, so I need the volume up. I'm just going to play the low E. Okay, so it's a little out of tune now. There we go. Probably not perfectly in tune, but good enough. And I'm going to check every single fret. I'm not hearing any buzzing. So that sounds like it's pretty good. All right. So next step would be to lower the high E string to where it needs to be and double check that one. Like I said, the high E is already where it's at. I've already checked the high E. There's no problems here. So I'm not worried about that string either. I still have a problem at G being a little bit off, but we can't fix that with the basic setup. It's a very high fret. Loosening the truss rod can sometimes help with that, but in this case, it didn't help. And that's fine. Okay, so now the string, the low E is set where it should be. The rest of the strings are set where they should be. I want to make sure now that the strings are radiused the same as the neck. If you look up the Donner NHL 500, I don't know if Donner's actually changed this on their website or the listings everywhere, but I did let them know. I measured this one and I measured the first one. It is not a 12-inch radius as advertised. It is a 10-inch radius. Okay, and I'll kind of show you that right now. So here is the first one, and there's no strings on it right now, so it's going to be really easy to tell. If I put the radius gauge up, there's no space underneath at 10. If I do a 12, it wobbles back and forth. It's not fully flush. And if you check the frets, it'll sit, oh goodness, sorry. It'll sit at 10 as well. So it is a 10-inch radius, like a Paul Reed Smith, not a 12-inch radius, like a Les Paul. Not a big deal, just something that if you want to set up the guitar, you want to make sure you do it right. So I'm going to use the 10-inch radius part of this, and what I like to do is I like to just put it on the strings, and I play each string. Okay, so the D string. The D string and the B string are not touching this, meaning they are low. So I'm going to raise the D string again, just doing each face of the bit. I'm just going to do one turn on each. Now this is just a very scientific way of doing it. I know exactly how many turns I've done by doing this. You can be a little less specific or accurate, and it won't make a difference. You'll actually probably get a slightly better result if you're really like finite. If you do like, instead of a face, maybe a quarter face or something like that. Okay, so it's just barely touching. It's not quite there yet. So I'm going to give it another face. Okay, let's see how that worked. Okay, so B is still not touching. Need to raise B a little bit. I'm going to do one turn each and check again. Still not touching on the B, so give it another raise. Again, just a turn of the face. And I will have to actually tune the guitar again after this. B is still off. Sometimes it takes a little while. This one was really low, which is weird because based on the action height, it didn't seem like it was that low. But it definitely is low based on the radius. Okay, so now it needs just one more turn and it should be good. And again, just to detail out, there's some numbering on the face of this. So anytime I'm turning, I just look at the face. When I see the next face line up, I stop and then I check. And the next time I lower or raise it, I do, again, just a face. I don't want to go any further than that just because I want to keep track of where it's at. Okay, now it's radiused to a 10-inch fretboard, like this guitar. So now, there was no real issues with the B before, but now everything's lined up to where if I do bends, hopefully the strings won't get caught under my fingers. Okay, the next step is intonation. Intonation is probably the one most people overlook the most. And intonation is really important. For those of you who don't know what intonation is, it's the adjustment of the tuning of your guitar so that it's hopefully as in tune as a guitar can be, from open all the way up to however many frets you have. Okay, now in order to do this, we're going to use a tuner. I have a clip-on tuner here. You can use something like this. The more accurate the tuner, the better. So I don't usually recommend like cheap Amazon tuners. Like the Snart clip-ons are good. I have on the floor a Line 6 Pod Go. Multi-Effects pedals that have tuners in them are usually really good. So what we're actually going to do is we are going to use an app on my computer. Let me get this open here. Called ToneLib, which is a amp sim, but it has a really nice tuner built into it. So let me get that on screen for you guys. All right. And wait, the tuner. I think I actually need to select the tuner here. Oh, sorry about the dog. All right, so actually, I'm not going to use ToneLib. I can't figure out how to get it on screen for you guys properly. So I'm just going to use the tuner here. And this is honestly what most people would have anyway. What's nice about the Donner NHL 500 is the shape of the locking mechanism is great for a clip-on tuner. So I'm going to go ahead and turn on the tuner here. And we're going to talk about, I'm not going to do the whole intonation of the guitar. I'm just going to do a couple of strings and explain what we're looking for. So back to the overhead here. Okay, here's the tuner. I want to first make sure my strings, all of them, are in tune. So there's my E. It's a little flat. Let's tighten it. And I'm always mindful when I'm tuning to keep my hand near the heel of the guitar so that I'm not accidentally putting pressure on the neck that could potentially detune it by pushing it forward or backwards. And let's let you guys hear this. So now E is in tune. Pretty dang close. All right. Can you guys see that? Yep. A, a little flat. A is in tune. D is in tune. G is. B is. And high E is. Okay. In order to do the intonation, we need a Phillips head screwdriver, and we're going to be looking at the screws right inside the bridge here. Okay. So I'm going to go back to my Music Nomad screwdriver. And this is why I don't like the screwdriver, because the bits are super hard to take out. Not the worst ever, but not ideal. All right. We need a Phillips head. I'm going to use a PH1. Okay. So there's my Phillips head. How I check intonation might not be how everybody checks it, but this is what seems to work for me. I have my low E string. It says it's E on there. I want the 12th fret harmonic. If you don't know where harmonic is, you just lightly touch the string and then let go after you pick it. To also read out E in tune. When I fret the 12th fret, I want it to read out E in tune as well. And in this case, it does. So that string intonated, no problem. A string should read A. I always wait for the note to go away on the screen. Then I do the harmonic. It's a little flat on the harmonic, but still in tune. Kind of flashing back and forth. And then fretted. In tune. And my D. Stop the string. Harmonic. In tune. And fretted. In tune. This is kind of where the clip-on tuners are a little bit harder to use because they're a little less refined. So sometimes the string will be slightly out. Not enough for this to pick up, but a good tuner would. G. Oop, get that back on screen for you. There you go. Harmonic. It's good. Oh, let's check that again. Looks a little flat, actually. It's in tune here. Let's let that die out. No, it's just a fluke. Okay, let's try fretting it. Looks good. B string's a little bit out. Time for the harmonic. And fretted. This one we moved a lot, so I'm thinking it might be out. Yeah, it's flat. So essentially what's happened is we need to adjust the saddle so that the string stays in tune, open, harmonic, and fretted. So in this case, I'm going to find the screw that attaches to the saddle on the B string. So that screw is going to be back here, right above the key for the B string. And I want to loosen it. I want to let it out a little bit. Again, I can use the face of the bit on my screwdriver to know how far I did. So I just did 2 turns. I'm going to give the string a little pull. Not a big one, just a little bit, like this. That way it kind of settles a little bit. The string should be out of tune now, which it is. It's slightly flat. I'm going to go ahead and tune it back up. Okay, wait for the harmonic. A little flat on the harmonic. Let's try the harmonic again. Okay, still a little flat. Let's check the fretted note. Still flat. Okay, so the harmonic and the fretted note are not perfectly lining up. However, the harmonic was pretty close. So again, I'm going to come over to the screw here. And I'm going to give it another 1, 2 faces of turn. Again, loosening. I want the saddle to slide forward. Give the string a little tug. Go ahead and tune the string back up. Okay, we're going to check the harmonic now. Harmonic's still slightly out, but not bad. Check fretted. Also still slightly out. Sometimes what happens is the saddle will get a little stuck moving. So we might have to loosen the string a little bit, just to make sure the saddle moves where it needs to move. So right now it doesn't seem like it moved after the first time. Once I've done that, I'm going to go ahead and tighten the string back up. Okay, in tune. Let's check the harmonic again. The harmonic doesn't seem in tune. Let's check the open string. Sorry about the glare, guys. Really hard to manage lights on this screen. Okay, almost there. In tune. Harmonic. Seems fine. Let's let it go off. Harmonic is good. Fretted. Good. B string is fine. I didn't have to adjust it again. I just had to make sure the saddle was moving. Sometimes the way the string is kind of pulling on the saddle won't move forward or back. So you just have to loosen it a little bit and tighten it a little bit. It's a design flaw in the way the bridge works, but to be honest, it's not a bad design flaw or anything. Fenders will have this like issue. Sometimes it's just the way it's designed. So it's not Donner's fault. It's just an old school design. Here's that E string. Let's check if it's in tune. Oop, let it go away first. In tune on the harmonic. And how about fretted? Yeah, it looks good. So if any of those strings were sharp, I would just do the opposite. Instead of loosening it so the saddle slides out a little bit, I would tighten it so the saddle pulls back. It is important to note that saddles should look somewhat like this, staggered. So low E is lower than A is lower or further back than D, G is further back than D, B is a little bit further out, and E is a little bit further out. So it's always kind of like stair steps and then stair steps for the first 3 and the last 3. But that is how we set up the Donner NHL 500. Feels pretty good. Okay, once you've done all that, you should be all set to play the guitar. Of course, this is just a general guideline. If you're using the Music Nomad stuff, I definitely recommend following their guide, just because it's going to give you a lot more information on the spec that you want to set up to. For me personally, this is how it's set up for the video, but what I'm going to end up doing is leaving the action where it is and actually straightening the neck a little bit more, just because I like a flatter neck with a lower action rather than a low action with a curved neck. So the flatter the neck, the lower the action gets, but like I said, if your frets aren't good, it can cause issues with buzzing. I have all the tools to fix that, so I'm not super worried about it. I'm also going to lower the 0 fret, just because I want to make sure that I'm getting as much playability as possible. Actually, that's why the frets on here or the strings on here are not on. On this one, I already spent, earlier today, I took the locking mechanism off here so that I could make sure the string pull is straight, so that is fixed. I leveled all the frets, recrowned and dressed them and polished them. So they're all, nice and smooth. So I should be able to get this pretty much exactly how I want it. And then, eventually I'll hopefully get this one exactly how I want it as well, so that I have a backup guitar in case anything does happen to the first one. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you have any questions, need help with your setup, feel free to give me a shout. If you want to, talk about your guitar, or, have me watch you look over while you do the setup, you can, look in the description below. There's a link to book a free trial session. I'm more than happy to help you out with that. And if you, want lessons, you can also book through me there. That's how I support the channel, is by teaching students. So again, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.